Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Crucial Conversations podcast. My goal on this platform is to empower others towards self-fulfillment. These are the conversations that you need to have to unlock your maximum potential. Whether you are feeling confused about your path in life, falling in love, starting a business, healing your inner child, moving to a foreign country, embarking on your spiritual journey, or building generational wealth, let's talk. The range of emotions and experiences that allow us to fully live our lives on Earth are beautiful and yet can be difficult to navigate. My goal is to create a safe space to talk about life, the good and the bad, in an effort to share wisdom, advice, and insight. I want to connect with you. I want to encourage you and empower you to live the life of your dreams, while reminding you that that does not always mean that you need to change your circumstances. Together, we will help each other level up and have the crucial conversations necessary to do so. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Crucial Conversations podcast. I am so thankful that you are here, and if it is your first time listening, you chose a fantastic episode to tap into. Today, we're going to be covering some of the topics that I have discussed in my previous episodes, the importance of your mind, your attitude, the filter through which you perceive your life, and the power that you have as human beings, as quantum creators. So we're going to get right into it. And I am going to introduce you all to an image that my father introduced to me very early on in my life and has really helped to shape my perspective and my mentality as the woman that I am today. And that image is that of a muddy bucket. So I would love for all of you guys to take a moment to imagine a bucket full of mud, okay? This bucket has dirt, it's got worms, it's got all the dirty that you can imagine, all right? Now, with this bucket full of mud, I now want you to picture that you place a hose inside of the bucket. When you turn that hose on, out comes fresh, clear water that begins to fill this muddy bucket. Now, over time, if you keep this hose on and you keep it in the muddy bucket, flowing fresh, clear water into that same vessel, eventually the mud will be replaced with that clear, fresh water. It might take a little while, and the key is to keep the hose running. Now that you've got this detailed image of this muddy bucket, you have a hose in the bucket, fresh flowing water. Over time, eventually the mud is replaced with clear, fresh, beautiful water. I want you to replace the bucket with your mind. And the mud represents the feelings and thoughts of negativity, depression, anxiety, stress, low self-esteem that all of us have experienced. Continuing on down this real-time example of what these images represent in our lives, the hose is the vessel that we filter the content that we feed ourselves. The water is the positivity, the love, the abundance, and the joy that we have the choice to flood our minds with, just as we have the choice to turn the faucet on and flood our buckets with fresh water. The beauty of this message is that we have a choice and we have the power to literally rewire our brains and eliminate negative thought patterns by flooding our minds with positivity. It takes time, but after ingesting so much of something, you begin to literally create patterns that recognize that abundance, that love, that joy, that positivity in all other areas of your life. The beauty of this day and age that we live in right now is that we literally have unlimited access to anything that we could possibly imagine. If I wanted to know the circumference of the earth, I could look it up and within 5 seconds, I've got my answer. With that being said, the content that relates back to the water that's flowing into our muddy bucket in our initial image that we have readily accessible for all of us right now is unbelievable. I'm talking podcasts, books, music, videos, seminars, blogs, it is genuinely unfathomable. Like, we have never lived in a time where this much information is ready to go, like ready, aim, fire. Okay, guys, we have it all. Now, if you are experiencing these feelings of negativity, you have the information at your fingertips and the power of choice to be able to seek it out and flood your brain with this positive content. For me, I really like podcasts and I really like books. If I am in a not so great place mentally, I'm listening to podcasts, I'm reading books. Sometimes it's music also. And that's really just the online interface. If I need some embrace and some uplifting energy, I'll seek out my loved ones and I'll have conversations with them. Because it's not just the online sphere that we have to help us to foster more positive mental states of being. We have our relationships, we have conversations, that kind of awesome stuff, which is exactly what we do on this podcast. But at our fingertips, we have this beautiful thing called the internet. And the content that we feed our brain, like I said, is just so important. So by relentlessly committing to only allow the content that's going to build you up into your brain, you make a commitment to yourself to radiate that energy and align yourself with the frequency that you hope to radiate on a daily basis. One of positivity, one of abundance, one of love. And eliminate the mud from your bucket, the negativity from your mind, by replacing it with positive. In my intro to this podcast, I referenced human beings as quantum creators. What that really means is that our thoughts and our words have so much more power than we understand, because we quite literally materialize our realities based on the things that we speak out loud and put into action and quite literally create. This gets really into it. And, this is another topic for another episode. And I briefly do want to touch on it because it is very important. But we choose what we want to create. The lifestyle, the relationships, the adventures, the experiences. We have a choice. And if we are ingesting content that corroborates our mental states of negativity, we create more of that negativity in our realities. But if we're flooding our minds with positivity and abundance, like I said, we begin to align ourselves with exactly that. And it shows up more and more in other areas of our lives. We have to remember that we attract not what we want, but what we are. And so that alignment is so important, because if we are feeding ourselves, or if we are magnifying these feelings of negativity, like I said, we are not attracting this positive state of being that we wish to obtain. We are attracting more negativity because we are occupied with so much of it and refusing to take the initiative to replace it with positivity. Because we have so much of it at our fingertips, guys. There's really no excuse as to how you could possibly be experiencing these things and not at least consciously make an effort to replace those feelings, to whatever capacity you have at the current moment to do so, with all of the fun stuff that I talked about, all the resources that we have available to us. When we rule our minds with thankfulness, straight out of the Bible, guys, it is as if scales fall off of our eyes. Think of it this way. If you have ever bought a new car and started driving a new vehicle, suddenly it seems like every other person driving must have recently bought that same car. Like when I started looking at Subaru Outbacks, because I drive a Subi now, Subi gang, I started seeing them everywhere. I was like, wow, Subarus are really popular. Since when? Like, since I just started looking? No, we know that's not the case. Because we are aware and attuned to our new model of car, in my case, it was a Subaru Outback, we're more likely to recognize the same thing in our external environment. So that's why I started seeing Subaru Outbacks, not because everybody got on the same Subaru wave that I did at the same exact time. It was because I attuned myself to be more aware and recognize Subarus because I adjusted my frequency to align with Subarus because I was looking at them. I was invested in them. I was, into it, okay? I was getting on the Subi gang train and I was looking at them, and so I started seeing them. And that same exact philosophy stands with anything in life. We are more likely to recognize the same in our external environments as is in our internal environments. So what we think, what we say, we create, and what we align ourselves with, we recognize more often in our external realities. This beautiful phenomenon really just reflects the power of our minds and the importance of the food we feed our brains. First comes awareness. Then comes recognition, then the choice to change for the better, and then the effort and the commitment, which is not to be seen as a chore, but rather as a blessing. And then we begin to reap the benefits of our creative powers as the water in our muddy buckets begins to clear up, eventually overflowing with fresh water, a metaphor for the abundant blessings overflowing in our lives when we choose to filter the content that we ingest through a lens of choice that aligns with positivity and abundance and love. Reinforcing your mind with thoughts and affirmations and words and experiences that radiate positivity is one part of the equation. The other part of the equation, which does come with time, even if you don't initially begin this process believing that you are worthy of all of these things or believing this content that you are ingesting, if you're like, oh, this is just pie in the sky type, like, I'm not feeling this way, but this guy that I'm listening to on this podcast sounds like he's super positive. Oh, like this could never be me. Over time, you begin to attach to this content, whether you believe it initially or not. But the second part of the equation is to believe that you are worthy of this positive state of being, of your desires, and know that they are already yours. This gets into another type of topic more related to manifestation, but in going with this power of our mind and thoughts and words, and alignment and all of that beautiful stuff, I advise you guys to stay away from thought patterns like I want, I wish, or I'm trying, because in speaking this way, you put out into the universe the implication that you lack these things that you want. And what does that mean? It means that you currently do not have them. So when you're speaking to yourself, the content is one thing that you feed your brain, but when you're speaking to yourself, because your thoughts and your words have that serious power, guys, speak as if you already are these things, have these things, are doing these things. Because in doing so, you corroborate this idea that you identify as being someone not only worthy, but of having all of those things and experiences and feelings and emotions, actualizing that into your reality. Because we are quantum creators, ladies and gents. It's a really cool thing. So my parting words to you guys after this short and sweet episode is to make a conscious choice of recognizing your negative thought patterns that may be contributing to the overall feelings of negativity that you are experiencing, and then choose to flood your mind with content that builds you up and replaces that negativity with positivity. And like I said, it is not a requirement for you to be super, super gung-ho about this the second you start listening to a new podcaster or watching a new series of YouTube videos on self-fulfillment or whatever, okay? You don't need to be super, super gung-ho and the biggest advocate for this kind of thing, but you do need to be open to trying it, and you need to allow your brain to do what it does best, and that is align itself and you and your being with this type of content, because your brain is such a powerful tool and it's quite literally a magnet, okay? We are magnets, guys. What we are, we attract. And I mean, why would we choose not to flood our minds with this abundance and this beauty and this love when we have that choice? right here, right now, and all of the tools that we could ever possibly imagine to help us to do that right here, right now, at our fingertips. Why would I choose to listen to a song that is talking about women as objects or as men as scum when I have an opportunity to listen to songs that detail the love of God, of the universe, of your other healthy relationships? Like it's all, seriously, it's a science, okay? The power is unreal, guys. So make this commitment to yourself, for yourself, to create a more positive state of being and flood your muddy buckets with that fresh water. Flood your brains with positive content. And over time, you will be able to replace those negative thought patterns with positive ones. Some of my favorite podcasts, if you guys are looking for some content similar to this, I really like the Craig Groeschel Leadership Podcast. I love the Ed Mylett Show. Huberman Lab, really interesting for you guys, you science nerds. I'm one of them. I really like, Jay Shetty on Purpose. That's a great podcast as well. There are so many, Mel Robbins, lover, so many amazing leaders out there that are serving their purpose and their mission by empowering the collective whole towards a better state of being that is not necessarily an achievement, more so a remembrance of all of the tools that we were born with, but just the process as how we have to unearth those tools and equip ourselves with all of the things that we have within us and how to use them to our advantage and to live these fulfilling lives and attract abundance and all of that fun stuff. So I've got some books also detailed in the episode description. Reading is a really big thing for me as well. And if you don't have the time to whip out a book, I know you've got time while you're driving to work to listen to a podcast. So I'll link some of those in the episode description as well. And as always, I hope that you guys were inspired by this talk. So thank you so much for tuning in, and I will see you next time on the Crucial Conversations podcast. Thank you all so much for tuning in to this week's episode of Crucial Conversations. I hope that you were inspired by this talk and reminded that you are capable of anything you have the capacity to imagine. Share this episode with someone that you want to help unlock their maximum potential. Because sometimes in order to find the answers, you have to know how to ask the questions. And that is what we do on this podcast. I love you all, and I will see you next time on Crucial Conversations.